Hi, I am now live. I'm gonna wait for a minute. How you doing? Well, I hope. I am going live today with Hillary Taylor, who, oh God, she had one really great she had many great answers on the questionnaire, but one that just cracked me up, and I am going to ask her about it. Alrighty, I'm gonna go invite her to join, and her handle is Hillary T Interiors. Oh, sorry, hello. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Perfect.
I'm good.
It is so nice to meet you via
I
Instagram.
know. Nice to meet you, Alexa.
And I am working in Utah these days, so we need to do this.
Anytime, call me.
Okay. First, I was just mentioning, can you guess what response on your questionnaire that totally cracked me up?
Chutney?
It's what?
Was it chutney?
No, chutney does not make me laugh. Chutney is serious business. No, it was, people think of me as my
Sweet.
I'll call right now. People think of me as blank, but I'm blank. And you said people think of me as really sweet, and but I'm short-tempered and don't do well with stupid people. And I was like,
Truth.
preach. That was unexpected candor, and it was very appreciated.
Oh, good. It's just the truth.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think anybody would. Well, maybe some people are.
Well, also, Alexa, I don't have that yummy, awesome voice like you have. It's a high-pitched, blonde voice. I have a blonde voice. And so people assume, oh, she's dumb, or she's,
oh my God, look at your CV. Nobody would think that in a million years.
No one sees your CV when they hear you talk, right?
Right. Anyway, I do not think stupid, but it totally cracked me up. I loved it. So thank you.
Good.
So please give me, even though to anyone who has not read the questionnaire, Hillary she graduated cum laude. Oh my God, my son is asking me if we should get pink, green, or yellow pants. And I think we all know the answer.
These are home mom hours.
No, I sent him off to a store to get linen pants because we're going to somewhere hot for spring break. Oh God, he's gotta go.
Answer him. You can answer.
He's bombarding me with texts, and he knows I can't talk to him. Okay, so Hillary went to Princeton, graduated cum laude, which is like bonkers. And then you got your JD, which, as I'm sure everyone knows, that means she knows the law. But and you could practice it if you took the bar, but you have clearly chosen not to take the bar, right?
Well, no, I took the bar.
You did take the bar. You are a freak. And then,
well, actually, it was worse than that. I took the bar 6 weeks after my eldest was born.
What's wrong with you?
It wasn't good timing, and it wasn't an appropriate move anyway. So I'm an inactive member of the Utah bar. Totally useless.
I'm totally impressed by it. Just as a thing. I mean, come on. Anybody watching this is impressed, right?
No, I don't know. Anyone can go to law school, Alexa. Anyone.
And then you were an investment banker.
Yeah, so I did that before I went to law school. And that was really golden. Well, that was a golden handcuffs thing. I had a couple of options from college, right?
Right.
And one was sort of dream, kind of, I'm going to clean the world. I mean, I'm going to make the world a better place kind of thing, but it wouldn't.
Which you are.
Yeah. I mean, you end up where you're going to end up.
Were you already in Utah? But when did you get to Utah?
Not until I went to law school. So, mid-20s was when I ended up
When
there.
you finished Princeton, did you go home to California, or were you staying East Coast? What's the story?
No, so I was one of the few. I had 3 job offers, one in Atlanta, one in New York, and then this investment banking firm in San Francisco. And I actually chose the firm. Well, number one, it was at home,
Yeah.
hometown, sunny. And of course, we went in January, which is the best time in San Francisco. It's warmer in January than it is in the summer, of course.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's
I
like
didn't know.
70 something, and you can run outside, and everything looks amazing. And coming from New Jersey,
I'll be right for any good reason.
yeah. So, yeah, so I took that. So I moved from, Princeton to San Francisco and worked for a couple years doing that, kind of trying to see, well, first of all, to pay bills and have like a great paying job.
Yeah.
Because the job in Atlanta was with the Southern Poverty Law Foundation, and it would have paid me about $13,000 a year. So I kind of looked at it like, well, I could make a little bit.
So you have to pay for your life. Somebody was going to have to sponsor your good works, which
Right.
is pretty, yeah.
Right. So anyway, I ended up in San Francisco, and I actually chose it partially the weather, but also the offices were amazing. Like this is late 90s, and everything was that bleached Douglas fir. I mean, they were beautiful, and bright light and Lichtensteins on the walls. I mean, the partners had a great art collection, and it was all very energetic and bright and just let's go. And I couldn't help myself. And it was the worst job for me. It was not a good job.
Well, think of what you learned about, like, the trappings. We who contend with the trappings, they're vital and important, but they're not enough on their own.
Right. Yeah. In fact, my mom always said, you are just a jack of all trades. And in a weird way, that's what an interior designer is. We're the jack of all the trades. And there's a spreadsheet over here, and then there's all the people and the dynamics and the awesome stuff. And then, the fun creative, which is 10% or whatever. But yeah, you've got to have your spreadsheets.
I'm happy to report that I am not the author of many spreadsheets.
Good.
How I do sometimes, I think, most all the people I work for are better at numbers than I, which is not hard. But there is a bit of a virtue to being a bozo about numbers, because you understand basic concepts. Like, what does this room cost? That's crazy. There are certain things that, or they need to know just all of this. How much is it? Don't tell me what it is with this and that. Tell me how much it is. But I envy your many abilities. Oh. So you got married and moved to Utah?
No, it's crazy. In a 4-year period of time, I moved to Utah, started law school, I got married, I graduated, I had a baby, I took the bar, we moved to New York.
And you passed.
Yeah, I passed, yeah.
I mean, that's not nothing, just having had a child. I mean, it's something by itself.
Well, it doesn't feel like much when you're just kind of not sure what you're going to do. You want to complete, and you want to pass things and not fail in life. But gosh, if I'd only known in my 20s, right?
No, and that's a great thing to have as a tool. If you are the jack of all trades, that's one of them.
Yeah, we do a fair amount of contracts, so.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, how many children do you have now?
I have 4.
Oh my God. You are so impressive.
Wait, how many do you have? 2?
I have 3, but that is.
Yeah, but you did twins, which that's an exponential experience?
No, I had twins first, so I disagree with you. I feel like I did it. Oh, this is so funny. Somebody said also upholstery classes while at law school.
That's true.
You did that?
Oh yeah. I actually took design classes at the university where I was in school. I was at school at BYU, and it was their last year of the interior design program. In fact, Milo Boffman had taught at that program. It was a good program, and they were closing it down, whatever. And I would go and take these classes on the main part of campus, and they'd say, "Lady, go back to the law school. Like, get out of here. You got to pay bills." And I don't know. It didn't stick. Law school didn't stick.
Though it did. You completed it. You finished it.
Yeah.
You've had 4 children. At what point, obviously, we have not addressed the fact that your mother was very, schooled you, taught you all you know about design, or started. No, you've taught yourself from then on. But she is the reason.
100%. And she, yeah.
So tell me about her.
So she attended school at BYU also.
Mm-hmm.
She worked at an antique store.
You have some Utah roots.
It's funny. I don't actually have family here. Now I do, but
right.
Growing up, my grandparents were in Arizona, California, Idaho. So I didn't really have that real roots here necessarily, but yeah. So she taught me everything, and she's the reason I love your father. And
her too.
Yeah, she really. Anyway, she worked at antique stores. She was a designer. She did it all and taught me everything, and bought me the sewing machine when I was 12, which later when I was married, I realized, okay, if I want this, I will have to make it. I didn't have that budget when we were first married to just go to a workroom. And there was no YouTube. So I went to the library and I checked out books, or I went to the community college and took upholstery classes, or sewing, sewed whatever. My mother had sewn everything when I was a kid. So,
gosh, yeah. So somebody just asked to whom I was speaking, and this is the wonderful Hillary Taylor, and it's Hillary Taylor Interiors, or Hillary T Interiors is her Instagram handle. Wow, so you sewed your original, did you upholster your own furniture for the original?
Break up?
No.
I'm still here. Okay. Yeah, so our first house, I sewed lots of things, lots of trial and error. Balloon shades were the easiest.
Really?
Romans are hard. They're really hard. Curtains were hard. No, it was so fun. It was so fun to try it all. And then later I got an industrial machine and got really serious, made slip covers, and that.
You can make a slip cover?
Yes. Yeah, it was so, and I have to say, Alexa, it has been the neatest thing in my career to be able to get in a workroom and show how I want that welt, or could we try it this way and say, hey, when I did this one time, sort of humbly step into that hat. And I mean, I know there's things I ask that are really hard to do. I've never done Italian stringing. I would love to learn, but that type of thing, it's been a really neat thing. So.
And it must give you such a different grasp of everything, like a much deeper grasp when you're talking to a homeowner or discussing how a repeat will work. And obviously when we show people samples, they frequently don't tell the whole story of how it's going to seem. No pun intended. I love it when a pun is a mistake.
Oh, and you do it so well.
Yeah, people would like to hire you to custom slipcover. Yeah, that is just, and so you're also just a lifetime learner. You like learning things.
Yeah, I do. In fact, I do wonder if my mother thought that this wouldn't really stick, but I have had my business for about 18 years. So it's sticking and I love it. And I love it more every day. Don't you?
It depends on the day. If it's a Tuesday, the answer is no.
So true. I'm not a fan of bookkeeping right now.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, where in your children lineup did you open your own business?
Second baby.
Second baby.
Yep.
And what did your first business look like? Was it just you?
Yep, just me. Yep. First job was like a roommate. Second job was sort of a friend of a friend.
And did they come, besides word of mouth, like, oh, she's great, how did you show your point of view? Did they come to your house? What was the
Yeah,
means by which
a
you
little.
acted?
Yeah, the second job, they came to my home. The first job, I had made some things for my Princeton dorm room, and she had come to visit. She knew kind of what I really loved. Like,
Yeah.
she would say, I don't know why you're going to law school or whatever. So some of it was she just trusted me. And to me, that's what my business is about, is somebody who trusts you. And that usually you have to see it. You have to see the example. So you're right. You have to walk in the showroom or the home or whatever it is, or get a reference from somebody else. But yeah.
What is your favorite kind of client?
Chic with an
Yeah.
understanding of budget and just reality, flexible, somebody who's open to an idea they hadn't preconceived. So really it's flexibility, trust, and a budget.
Is there an age? I mean, obviously all ages are welcome, but because sometimes it's really great when I guess it's all comers are fun, because some of the young ones are fun because you get to go on that first journey with them to figure it out. And then the older clients are so much fun because they know who they are.
Totally.
Or
Some,
they're changing. They're like,
yeah,
okay, I've done this, now I want to do something else.
totally. In fact, I'm doing that right now for someone who, when we did the first project, it was very daunting to move into this beautiful new home, right? And we had just done it all and we decorated it. But what she asked me was, just make it low key. Let's really understated, just beige. It was a lot of beige.
Yeah.
And now she's like, oh no, let's bring on the color. I want it crazy. It's really fun. And she's just like, whatever, this is who I am. Tough. I don't care what people think when they walk in this beautiful home. I'm used to it. I know it. It's my house, not yours.
I completely sympathize with that trajectory. I think it's very commonplace to at first be tepid in your choices, right?
Right.
It's
And
also,
Alexa, if you wait too long, like if you don't just try to paint that kitchen when you can and with your own hands, I always tell the girls that are a little younger, like, just paint it. Because if you live with it your whole life and you were bummed that you never painted the kitchen, I do think that when you finally paint the kitchen, you feel so entitled that it makes it an unfun process and you hold on so tight. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes it like this giant trophy that you've won because you've waited all this time. Does that make sense? I don't know.
it does. But it's really interesting because I was just talking to somebody today, and and it's all about painting a kitchen. We're talking about a younger person, and we were talking about, is it, should they paint the kitchen because it's gonna, it's not something you change lightly. Yeah, that's very funny. I think we came to the opposite conclusion, but I'm gonna have to take a minute and digest that, because obviously you are full of good advice.
No.
What did your first house look like?
Really, my first house was kind of inherited. My husband had bought his own house and he was renting it out. So it wasn't really mine. So that was the one I got to experiment with and learn how to tile in and
Yeah.
put all the wrong paint on the walls, you know.
Yeah.
But really the first one I got to do was really creamy, really buttery. It had a lot of great light. Like when we walked in, I just knew it was ours. But it was a 1960s flat ranch style that was solid as a rock and so ugly, like ugly as not. And I mean,
It was so ugly that you walked in and said, honey, this is our home. Like,
you
what?
know, anyway, no, the all the closets were wallpapered mauve, you know, that old contract paper. And then
I
she
do.
totally saved money on certain rooms. And that paper that was less expensive was so hard to get off, you know?
Right,
So
right.
anyway, it was a happy house.
And now, do you work from home or do you have a
Yeah,
different
my studio's behind my house. Yeah.
fit? And are you still a small team, or how big is the team now?
Yeah, we have six girls.
Yeah, great. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, and have you worked with them for a long time? I'm so curious about everybody else's setup.
I know. So one has worked for me for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
One, 3.5, 4. One, a couple of years, like hired during the pandemic, and then
Yeah,
three of them just like in the last year. So
yeah. That's exciting. That must make you feel like you're burgeoning at the same time that the pandemic is feeling like it's so.
did you know, I mean, did you have that feeling? I knew the minute they made us stay home, I knew people were going to turn over and go, honey, that does not work.
Oh,
Get
that.
this.
Yes, but do you know the furniture company Bungalow 5? So, um, a great friend of mine, that's his company. His name is Luca Renzi. I met him when we were both working for my father, and then he worked for David Easton, or David Kleinberg, and then some for David Easton, and then he started his own company. Um, and I'm telling you all of this just because I have to attribute this one saying to him, which is so funny, is he calls himself a doomsday Pollyanna. And I too, like, you think the world's going to hell, but you're still like, oh, well, at least we're all at home and people are going to look at their, like, you try to see the good in it, even as you see that the whole thing is going to hell in a handbasket.
Totally. But it really made our economy just, you know, it was
Yeah.
amazing. Our industry, I think, led that way home.
And, and it is notionally rewarding. Like it was less frivolous seeming because you realize that people were really tuned into being home, safe, in an environment that conveyed what they needed to have conveyed, you
Totally.
know?
All the things that you always had thought, but now you had other people agreeing.
Yeah, but also that they're really experiencing the value of feathering your nest.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, so Celia Rogge, who is
Hi,
our,
Celia.
she just said, always look up in response to the Doomsday Pollyanna. Um, so I didn't really, okay, the picture of the upholstered room with the matching curtains, and is that the ranch?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love that project.
Thank you.
Uh, and I had seen that photo on Instagram or in a magazine. So I knew that room and I loved that room. And I had also seen a photograph of it with Celia's picture in it that I think Celia had posted. And somehow there was enough distance between, and I'd love that, but there was enough distance between my seeing both images to not realize, like, oh, wait, that's that room. And it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Uh, I love, as I would, that there's plenty of traditionalism in it, but there are modern edges, and obviously you're using amazing art and photography. Is that just? I mean, I know you described your style as happy, but those are like vague terms. Where are you at aesthetically this moment?
I feel like I'm straddling, sort of trying to push clients to do hard things. And that client, that ranch project is just such a gift because we were taking very awkward spaces. And in that situation, I knew putting that fabric on the walls was going to make the walls close in. I knew it. And I wanted that because it's a media room, it's a TV room. And
But
they
it's
really
still a deep room. It's got great scale.
Yeah, but with the stripe, you knew that that was just gonna bring your eye up, and then so we were helping that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Celia's art, things like art, are things that sort of change a space exponentially. So right, because
That other painter that you mentioned, Mary, I forget what I
Sauer,
read her Sauer.
yeah.
I don't know her at all. I follow her though. I don't know what hashtag I was following that led me to her, but she is amazing.
Those
So
I got a little toddler for Christmas. It's just a face, little cheeks. Oh, she's amazing. But then she also does like the Nissim Commando interiors. Really a great artist.
So you're Paris obsessed. I forgot that until you said Nissim de Camondo, which is, I mean, I actually got to, for one apartment owner, we got that great French firm Fayot to do the oval library, all in oak, with all of that carving, but we had the Camondo book out while we were doing it. It was unbelievable.
Did you photograph that?
No, not a lot. In my heart,
Fayot has a new showroom. Like I want to go so bad.
Well, then let's go. In Paris, you mean?
Yeah.
When it has righted itself on its axis. In fact, I could not post 52 yesterday because I was just so overwhelmed by what was happening in the world. I was like, I want to wait. So
traveling to Italy, how did that go?
Well, the same thing. I felt like this is so strange to be traveling to Europe while there is this nascent war and to be looking at pretty things. But, obviously, like we just said, there, it's part of the home. And I'm sure people who are creative have this constant dialogue in their head, right? That it's important, but obviously there are times when you're like, what am I doing there? I got to go volunteer, join an army, I know. It was great, and it was uplifting because it was beautiful, and it was also a whole lot of people together. So it felt very loving.
Good.
And the fair is amazing. You have to go.
I want
anyone
so bad.
It's American Dan Fiera. Oh my God, I said that so horribly. In Parma, and it's fabulous.
And had you been to the Parma Fair before this?
Never. Have you?
No. Is it that big all the time? Or is that just pent up?
Nope. It's that big all the time.
I gotta go.
You have, and yeah, it's amazing. How did you come to fall in love with Paris so hard?
Well, that's kind of a long story, like we all have, right? But really, again, I attribute it to my mother. My father worked, so I was born in San Francisco. We moved to San Francisco or I was born in Chicago, moved to San Francisco for
I don't know.
I know. So we moved to San Francisco for a startup. And so my dad's world was sort of technology. And if you do any medical technology, you have to sort of get your certifications in the EU first.
But
I was a kid.
He was on the cutting edge.
Well,
he was medical tech startup then.
Oh yeah. I mean, a tech startup paid for my college tuition. Yeah. I am grateful for that. I'm so grateful. But his company had a little apartment in Paris. So my parents took us when I was a young teenager. And so it just gets in your, like the smells, the taste, the everything, the butter, everything tastes and feels and looks so different. And then I was taking the language. My mom had worked at a French antique store when I was little, and I was studying the language, and that's really where it started, is I think connecting the way they speak with the food and the architecture and the attention to detail. Those are things that I have a natural genetic code for, right? So
Your father's not a geneticist, is he?
no.
Okay.
He probably thinks he is, but no.
Right. Yeah, I also think when you first went there as a teenager, what a romantic time to go. When it's really going to get its hooks into you. I lived in Versailles for a semester when I was 15. And, obviously I could go to Paris all the time. And I was like, wow. I was living with a family and this is crazy.
Is that how you learned the language?
What?
Is that how you learned the language?
I learned it in school here in New York, and that helped. But I think I speak it better now as a grown-up than I did. But I've worked there. And that's what?
You kind of have to try, or there's no respect. Just try to speak it.
Well, no, everybody tells you that French people can't stand to hear people butcher the language, but yes, I don't care. What's the point of being a big blonde American if you don't outrage people with every step you take? Right?
Absolutely.
They see me coming a mile away and they already hate me. So why not go right into it? Yes, I'm exactly everything you think is terrible.
But I'll buy your stuff. I'll take all your stuff.
Take all your stuff. So do you speak it fluently?
No, I can understand a lot. And I can,
yeah.
The longer I'm there, like if I'm there for a couple days, I just start thinking, I start thinking it.
Oh, you speak it. That means you speak it. If you start thinking in the language.
I just love the language.
Do you use antiques all the time in your projects?
I try, because everything feels flat and one-dimensional if I don't. And the other thing is I have this, it is a hoarding mentality, but it's also how to, it's almost like scoring a big deal.
You paused.
Oh.
I lost you for a minute. Did somebody call you?
No.
Okay. Somebody is saying you do speak fluently, so you're a big fat liar.
That's
what did you just say that I just missed?
I don't know. Oh,
that things look flat and then you went to something.
Okay, so they look flat without some of real authenticity pieces. But the other thing about an antique, which I don't really care about provenance. I care a lot about the shape, and I really want it to be clean and make sense. I want to know why we're using that, where we're using it, and where it came from, and why were you going to use it. But when you find that piece, there is that feeling like you stole something. Or, like when you go to a sale and you can't believe that it's only $5 and it was.
Well, that's how I felt in Parma.
Yeah.
I bought a dining room table. I did not intend to buy a dining room table, and it's not even for me. I was like, listen, if I don't sell this myself, I will give it to an antique dealer that I love so he can sell it. It was just too good of a price to walk away from.
Yeah, and I feel like that's sort of the adrenaline component of my job, like finding it and proposing it and saying, this is it, I swear, like this is going to be so great, and that's why I love antiques.
Do you travel to source? How do you do your sourcing?
Yeah, I would say the last, 2 years, I've done plenty of online, but
understandably,
once I bought from a dealer on First Dibs or Cherish or wherever, and I have used Cherish for like 5 years. I mean, because it used to be like Craigslist in San Francisco. So it wasn't what it is today. And I love that selling from Europe. That's all great. But it took some of the fun away from, you know, winning.
Right. But you said you also do Etsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I
Don't-
have like bolts of fabric that are sitting in my upholsterers that I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to use that for, but I will use it one day.
Okay, so you keep your extra fabric at the upholsterers.
No, this is fabric that I bought myself. And I sat there thinking I was going to do something. I was like, nope, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. You need to hold it for a minute. But it is, I only go on flights of fancy when it's for me. Otherwise, I'm like, this could get
Ugly.
really quickly, you know. And you said you're on Stair Gallery all the time.
Yes. So Live Auctioneers has changed everything, the app. But prior to that, Stare was just the only, I mean, right? I don't know. Everything that comes through there, I'll take it. I never win. I mean, sometimes we win, but I try to
Win
put
because that too.
in like a low bid or maybe a second follow up, and then I walk away, because if I'm there doing the thing, I'll lose. I will lose money, you know?
Yes. I totally understand. There has to be that discipline, but that also is a reason to travel to look at dealers, right?
Totally.
So they'll find the treasures that actually an interesting thing, and I know that you know this, but I don't think other people who are watching might know, is that many antique dealers will not list a large portion of their stock because they do not want to burn those pieces like online, or you know, they have to be able to maybe go to a fair somewhere and sell it, or
Right.
so they keep it kind of on the QT.
Right.
So we are not seeing everything that is out there.
Exactly.
By any.
And there's, you know, there are great places all around the world, like truly, obviously. One thing I found is if I've been to one physically, I am more apt to check them first online, and then they trust me, I trust them, they'll send me follow-up pictures. Do you know what I mean? It's a trust relationship too.
And a taste trust.
Right. Yeah. Right. Have you been to Ilsorg?
Have I what?
Have you been to Ilsorg?
No.
So everyone claims there. They claim, and the prices are probably 30% less than the flea market in France, or, you know, in Paris, the
Marché aux Puces.
Marché du Puce. Vendre or Clignancourt. They claim that everything goes through that market before Paris. And that is
that? No, but where in France?
Ilsorg. So it's like in the middle of the, you know, the golden triangle, like Roussillon and Gourd, and it's just outside of Avignon, and it's like a little Venice. It has all these rivers that run through it. And back in the day, the chateaus would sort of, or these homes, the farm homes would just sort of liquidate, and they'd run it down a boat down the river down to Ilsorg.
Got it. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But that's one of my favorite places to see things. They're a little harder to get a hold of if you're not physically there. So
do you make a point of going when you're able to, when it's not like a pandemic? And obviously, everything now has this huge pause between. Oh, thank you. Somebody just spelled it for me. Thank you very much. That helps. Now it's in my. Would you generally go once a year? Is it a once a year thing?
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Very. What are some of the other things that you feel are absolutely critical to keeping your mojo?
Going home, seeing my mom. You know, she's the one who charges my batteries a lot. And there's something about California light, and it'll always be home to me. Mm-hmm. And I love Utah light. I love where I live. It really, really, I struggle during the winter. for some reason, as I get older, the winters get harder. So Northern California, Northern California charges my batteries. So,
Do you think you'd end up there when you're older?
probably.
Is
You
it,
never.
your husband be down for it?
Well, he's from Southern. So, have you ever met a Southern Northern California couple before?
I don't think so. I don't know.
So I don't know a lot of them. Northern California is really different from Southern, right?
Right.
And when I was a kid, we had droughts and they would show, like, we couldn't flush our toilets, and they would show on the television people in Seal Beach, like, washing their driveways with water.
Right.
All that water for Southern California comes from Hetchachi, from Northern California. And so you're kind of raised like you've got Giants, Dodgers, and Lakers, Warriors. I mean, right? There's just these things. And it's such a different lifestyle. The people are very different. I mean, things have changed, right? Since I was a kid, obviously. Like, people do carry little dogs to the mall now at Stanford, whereas it was only hoodies all my life.
Oh, by the way, that was one of the most fabulous things about Parma, is that so many of those dealers had their dogs with them.
Oh,
it just felt so loving. Anyway, continue.
So cute. Are there dogs?
So now they're little baby purse dogs everywhere.
Yeah, I would consider that a little SoCal, right? Chargers, Padres. That's right. Chargers and Padres. There's
about Southern teams. I mean, California teams. Is this a sports conversation that we can listen to? Because I am not the person you want to talk to about that.
But it is a thing. There's a rivalry, but
it's allegiances.
Yes, but it's just such a different culture, Alexa. So yeah, I think if we ever ended up in California, there would be a bit of a, where are we going? So.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're saying he's from Southern California?
He is.
I thought you were saying you're from Northern California and he was from the South. Full stop.
No.
Okay. Now I understand. Yes, that's like New York, New Jersey. Sure. I totally get that. Sorry, I'm a little slow.
No. No, we're not from the South, darn it.
Got it. I know, I love that. You sound a little Southern.
Really?
Maybe it just sounds joyful, and I see that as Southern. I translate that as Southern.
Could be.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about when you custom design furniture for your own projects, like when you go to a workroom or you're building a table or whatever. Is that as critical to you as antiques?
Yep.
Yeah.
It might be more important. I wish I could just go buy your sofa from Theodore Alexander. Like, I love those Jansen sofas so much. Sorry, what are the names of your sofas?
Wingate is the tufted one. There's the Markham. There is they're a bunch.
I love them. I mean, I love them.
Do you go to High Point?
I did, yeah. I have, yeah.
Yeah. Do you do that normally, or
no? You know what happens is, I mean, probably as my kids get older, I'll be able to go more. Spring is a time for my kids to play sports and for their recitals and all the things that happen on a Friday night, weekend, or Thursday night.
Yeah.
So, and the fall is just, you know how in the fall you're just trying to catch up for the year?
Totally. Well, it's the beginning of the school year for grown-ups and children alike.
Totally. And it's like I get one go away. Like, there's one event I can leave for in that fall period. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So, I feel like as my kids get older, I'll get to attend more often. But
mother.
What's that?
You sound like a wonderful mother.
Oh, thanks.
Wonderful designer, great businesswoman, and a wonderful mother. I kind of hate you.
No. I'm just trying. My kids will be in counseling like everyone else's kids. So,
what are your favorite fabrics? I don't recall from the questionnaire.
I love all pure fray, right?
Yeah.
not every job is a Pure Freight project. The repeats are so big, the really great ones. But that Augustine stripe that they make is pretty much usable. It's in purple, beige, blue, pink, what else? Green. All of those colors, somehow those silk colorways factor into every one of our schemes. I don't know why. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it.
This Claremont shows up a lot. And Fermois. Do you use Fermois?
Love it.
Yeah, there are things that they're such cool, and they're also such good go-withs.
Yeah, like the Fermois can really play well with other brands, right? Like sometimes, do you ever feel like a certain, we call them favorite fabrics, where we build the room around that one favorite?
We call them mains, even though they might not be used the most.
Right.
It's the thing that connects all the dots.
Right?
I like favorites. I also like hero too.
Yeah, hero's it's a good term. I like it. But favorite, anyway, there's certain houses, whether it's Brunswick or there's certain houses, those favorites really, they're so strong and they're so hard to really find companions. It's almost like they managed it that way from a scientific like algorithm,
Right.
They've really made it hard on us.
Yeah. But I think those historical ones, do you know Decor de Barbar?
Yes.
So Natalie, whose company it is, she's very interested in the history of pigment and these great old bohemian fabrics, or even like the old chintzes from India have just like their old pigments. And I wonder if some of those historic fabrics are just from a different line of pigmentation. I mean, certainly their whites are all different than what we do now. Like all of our whites are brighter. Do you ever tea dip? That's a good way to get the fabrics to match.
Oh my gosh, where do you do that? Like in the yard? You just go back and...
I mean, you would, because you like to know everything and be
well, I would, because I live in flyover country where people, there aren't tea dippers here.
No. I mean, I don't know how we do it, but that we do it. Tea dip. We
would I send that
the ground chills out?
Sorry, what's that?
So that the ground chills out a little.
Yeah. Smart. I love it.
I'll have to
send that.
Or you could try it just for pillows. What do you do about art? Now that we've spoken about Mary and Celia, how involved do you get with your homeowners and their art collections?
Pretty involved.
That's great.
I find that sometimes art, you get a sense for what someone likes, and you can kind of put them on to maybe a consultant or a certain artist that you really love, and just say, what do you think about this? And then that gets them excited, but it looks like them. We found this really neat piece, and it was for that ranch at the very last minute. And it was so odd. We thought it was like a garage sale piece, because everything out of that place went into like storage. We sold everything, and then all the art went into storage. And we took all the art at the very last minute to see what we were going to reframe. And I was looking at this Gary Smith, who's this great Western painter. And I had just been in a showroom where there was this really beautiful one of women. And the one I was looking at were these miners, but it was literally in like a mall rat frame. Like it had this horrible paper sticker thing. And
was it bedazzled?
I screamed. I had to rip the back off to make sure it was a Gary Smith. And it was these miners, which we have all these mines in Utah. So it was really very appropriate. But we needed to balance the room with the women. And I just found that. So it's just neat to see your client. That's not something I'd put in my own spaces. but I knew what they wanted. And so I find, because I'm always on the lookout, art is part of the job. Don't you think that? Or
I absolutely do, but at the same time, sometimes I, as you said, like I'll put them in touch with a wonderful consultant that feels meaningful, because there's a lot of contemporary art that I don't, I'm not up to date with what's available or what the market is.
right.
But I mean, I have huge opinions about art, but because it's such a personal thing.
It's so
Uh,
personal.
yeah. I'm not big into let's buy this as an investment. That feels crazy.
Yeah, me neither.
You buy it because you love it,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't sell it.
Right.
You keep it. Like that's
Totally.
not it. Yeah. How has your taste changed over these past 18 years?
Well, I would
You're
say
very classic. Like you love the classics.
I do, and not much has changed. That's what's weird, is my clothes don't change and my hair doesn't change. I'm sure things will change, but I will say I'm more okay with just saying, yeah, I love blue. Tough luck, I like blue. It doesn't mean you have to have an all blue room, but I'm sort of more comfortable with saying, yeah, I like feminine. I'll take feminine. Just give me some structure, give me some classical strength to it, and I'll take feminine. Whereas I think early on, I was sort of trying to be nice to everybody, or trying to be so diplomatic that you lose any of the kind of educational piece, which is the other part. That's the other hat we wear, in addition to dealing with people and trades and making these spaces happen and executing, is we also kind of are teachers. We're constantly educating our clients, or letting them teach us something that maybe for some reason we needed to know about their life or lifestyle. And so you learn, well, these people really need a pull out refrigerator in their bedroom, because this is when they have cereal, right?
Wait, for the milk. I was like, who refrigerates their cereal? Again, I'm a little slow today. I don't know what's going on.
But I think over time you just get a little more, I'm more confident in saying I love what I love, and you don't have to love what I love, but I know this looks good, and I really like the proportions of what we've designed. So sorry, that's my doorbell.
No, not at all. Do you need to get it?
Nope.
Okay. So that's the education portion. First of all, I'm not surprised to hear that from you, because you're a compulsive educatee and therefore a perfect person to educate others. But I think you're absolutely right. I think it's how can you value something if you don't understand it? And how do we, as purveyors of anything, how do you justify a selection if you can't speak to why
Right.
this? So when you speak to your homeowners, are you talking about everything from historical things like Camondo, or like something in a museum, styles, why is Biedermeier furniture this kind of wood? Are you doing all of that, as well as describing why you feel that certain things just work well together?
Different clients want that, and some
Yeah.
really want to just be told what looks great and why, and want a practical solution. And they maybe come to me for the aesthetic, and he's come to me for the practicality, because he trusts me. But I do think any chance I can, I explain why, where it came from, who the OG guy was, whether it was, an architect, whether it was whatever it is. Here's why I'm putting this Louis Philippe piece here. I really want this, but I couldn't find this in the price point. Whatever it is, yes, 100%. I think it makes the room feel vibrant. It makes it feel personal when the homeowner is willing to listen and knows why you put it together the way you did. and that's the passion. That's the passion I have for my whole job, is making the choices that are the best choices for our budget, and things that will last, that, you know, you can move around the house. I just don't love the idea of redecorating. I love changing some things out, but why should you buy that 10 times in your lifetime? Why, you know? So
Absolutely. If somebody hired a designer and they said, by the way, you're going to need a new sofa in 5 years, we'd be fired immediately.
Right.
But I love hearing what you just said, because I think it's so meaningful. And I think that the fact that you are such an extremely, not, you know, that you are eloquent and articulate, that speaking it creates a connection in the mind, and they will understand and appreciate all that much more when they're the whys and the wherefores.
That gratitude that makes the space joyful. You have to be thankful. That's what brings you joy, really, is understanding, hey, this is neat, and somebody made this with their hands. I can code this.
Yeah, though you could probably make it with your hands. Let me get my sculpting tools. I'll have your coffee built in a minute. I just saw the words mid-century modern pop up. How far into modernism do you go, or do you want to go in your professional life?
So I love it. What's that?
Do you do it all?
Yes, absolutely. Because I
That's
think
great.
restraint is just as hard as finding any solution. It's just as hard as any other floor plan, right? And those simple spaces that only have plaster have to be done so well, and you can't hide, you know. So I love a challenge. So I really like it when someone says, this is what I want. And if they want something really, now sharp contemporary, I don't know if I can be the OG, like the original kind of creative.
I'm with you 100%. They're not about you. I mean, that sometimes I think really, 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 really tough contemporary, somebody else is better at it.
Like, just go get Peter Marino, or, you know, like a million people that do that so well. Nicole Hollis. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that art she did. It's just amazing. That powder room on the front of Elle Decor. I think
yeah. Totally amazing.
I could copy.
And not.
Why would I want to copy that for you?
Yeah, and no, I totally. You don't need one in any profession. Does not need to be everybody to everybody. But there's definitely room for curiosity in styles where you might not live in that style, but you're obviously interested in stretching your legs sometimes. Yeah. What's up in the next year for you? What do you want to be happening?
What do I want to be happening?
Yeah, what kind of projects you want to work on? What's
Well, what I really want to do is finish jobs. We have had, I just feel like my job, at least, for some reason, our projects have been, it feels like we're walking through molasses. Like I'm just trying to move. And so we'll install, hopefully in Hudson Valley. We'll install in California. We'll do a couple installs here. And I do want to get to a point where, you know, the processes in my studio feel very like comforting. I've had some bookkeeper, you know, there's just that office
right.
When it just bubbles up and say, gosh, I only really want to do this never, you know. So if I can get through some of that, I will just feel amazing. So I love what I do, Alexa. And I think people like you that bear that torch and that make it fun and funny and witty. You make it lighthearted and not so serious. And yet
I
you're
mean,
the legend. You're legendary. And I know I truly believe that we, you know, making someone's home feel good is one of the greatest services that I could do for anyone.
yeah. Well, thank heavens the profession found you. You who could do anything, and you got stuck. You got caught in the net. So it has been great talking to you.
You too.
If you go to Ile-sur-Sorgue soon, that's a tough sentence. Please let me know. I would love to trail you or have you introduce me to it.
I will. Absolutely, Alexa. And call me anytime about Utah.
I will. I'm totally going to call you about Utah. I can't wait to see you in the flesh.
Thank you. So fun. Thanks for having me.
Love talking to you, and see you soon. I hope very soon.
Very soon. See
See
you.
you.